Just want to let you lot know that if you're watching this clip on the Fozcast YouTube channel, the full episode is now available to watch exclusively on Spotify, and it's free. Come on.
You didn't get to. Did have a moment, didn't you, where you'd made your debut, you'd played, and
But this is all before my debut.
okay.
So I think this is where the context of me actually having a career has to come back to, I think, this book. Because if I didn't read the book, I probably would have gone off.
This is massive for, I would say, for any young sportsman or woman trying to get into the game. Is a massive book to try and read and take so much from it, because you're originally comparing yourself to a Jurgen Klinsmann who's already winner. He's a finished article. Yeah. He is the finished article already. He's won the World Cup. He's at the peak of his powers. Yeah, that is what the finished article looks like. But he's got 15, 20 years on you. 15, 20 years on you. And there's a reason why he looks like that now, is because he has learned all of this stuff already and he's put it into practice and he's got better, stronger, quicker, everything about it. Yet you still look at it and go, he's better than me, so that's it.
Why would I compare myself to a guy like that? It's absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? So this is why it's interesting, because then whenever the story develops over the next couple of years, I'm trying to be a professional footballer, but in my head, that little voice, or maybe Ben, you have voices in your head, it's just like, you're not going to be able to do it. You're not good enough, until I ended up seeing my mate who I'd come through the youth team with, and we both became a first-year pro at Spurs. He was obviously a better first-year pro, getting more opportunities. I just about scraped in, so I was actually the lowest paid player at the club in my first year pro. And then Rory Allen's his name.
I remember Rory.
Do you know
Allen?
Rory Allen?
Remember Rory
so
Allen?
Rory scored.
I was a Spurs
on
fan
his
as a kid.
debut. Okay, so Rory scored on his debut.
Curly hair?
No,
dark hair.
Luke
Big,
tall
is a
striker.
big Tottenham fan, so he remembers Rory.
So basically, Rory came through the youth team with me, made his debut against United, live on Sky Sports, under the lights, White Hart Lane, in I think January '97.
Holston kit?
Yeah. And I remember seeing Rory score against Becks and Giggs and Scholes and Keno and everything, and he ran off celebrating in front of the fans of Spurs. And I just remember watching my mate put this in the it wasn't Jurgen Klinsmann who was there at the time. It was my mate scoring against the best team around at the time, and I just remember having this like light bulb moment, and I thought, wow, if he can do that, then so can I. And 3 months later, I made my debut, and I played against Gareth Southgate and Ugo Akio, God rest him, at Villa Park on my debut, and then on my home debut, I scored against Coventry.
So where does the bit come in? So obviously you've got this, I guess, thought process or this pathway mapped out, and then I was listening to a podcast or reading an article, I can't remember, and you said that you made 3 appearances, scored the goal, went in the off season, and is it fair to say just lived it up?
Pissed it up for the whole summer. And this is where it's interesting, because then it comes back to the culture and what's kind of ingrained in your DNA. So as an Irish guy growing up, everything's based around alcohol. And again, it's all levels of, especially now where people are probably more aware of their relationship with alcohol. But back 90s, 80s, people were that's just what you did in Ireland. You just drunk, and everybody drunk, and there was always drinking involved. So I just go home, just made my debut, going home like a rock star.
A few quid in your pocket?
A few quid in my pocket. I'm going, wow, I've just got my first decent contract as well at Spurs, first 6-figure contract. And I'm going, wow, I can go home and start, having a bit of a good time. But of course, my dad's saying to me, oh, Paul, should you not be training over the summer? I'm like, no, that's what pre-season's for. You go back and get fit in pre-season. Of course, I went back unfit, overweight, never got a chance to play at Spurs again. But also, it was the worst and best thing to happen to me. Because I remember being so gutted, really beating yourself up and going, why did I just take 6 weeks off? And I've come back and I'm overweight, unfit, never got back into playing the first team again. But that was my first off season as a professional. And for the next 15 years, I never took more than 1 day off in the off season.
You did that. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Do you remember when we were kids and you'd come back and we'd have a little joke that you'd have your pre-season tummy and
pre-season belly on me? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember?
Yeah. And then it's not until I got to probably mid-20s, early 20s, mid-20s, where I actually thought, no, do you know what? You can have a little bit more and you might put a % on, but that's about it. You can't take the piss.
Absolutely.
You can't, because the standard now, especially now, the standard now is you cannot get left behind. You cannot be behind anybody when it comes to pre-season. You've got to be good to go.
And actually, so this is what probably ended up being the best thing for it, because I came back for pre-season fitter than when I left every summer going forward. because of the work.
So that was like the rocket up your own arse that you needed.
And it's like you don't know. It's back to that, unconscious incompetence. You don't know what you don't know about keeping fit in the off season. That if you don't stay in shape, you're probably never going to have another opportunity at a club like Spurs. Yeah, but it was an amazing lesson. Horrible at the time, but it was an amazing lesson.
You mentioned there the unconscious, conscious, and the conscious, all that kind of stuff.
4 levels of mastery.
Yeah, the 4 levels of mastery. I have got a little bit of something I believe in, where I've come across plenty of footballers in my career that it's fair to say they're not the brightest people. Some of them, yeah?
Academically,
academically, you'll have a range of a whole spectrum of cleverness, shall we say, and the ones that aren't academically quite so clever, or maybe even emotionally quite so clever, I always used to find them better at dealing with the setbacks and the mistakes and not wearing the weight of pressure on their shoulders. And it seemed to me like it never occurred to them. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, it's a bit ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, ignorance is bliss.
Didn't think to overthink.
So what's your solution to anxiousness? I don't really think about it, mate.
that famous in-betweeners quote, isn't it?
I just don't really think about it.
I don't worry about it.
Well, and this is where, and I thought you were going to tee me up perfectly there, Ben, for the from a book that I wrote, The Stupid Footballer's Day, because I met so many guys who traditionally, whatever intelligence is, academically, they weren't the brightest, so they didn't come out with the best results from school. But my God, I think footballers are some of the brightest, most astute, most switched on people I've ever met in my life. And actually, I say that because if you try and, pull the wool over their eyes or try and get them there's no way you have to get up very early in the morning. And it's because we get approached by thousands and thousands of people. So our bullshit and antennae is amazing.
The radar.
Oh my God. You can see phenomenal. Them coming before they even say anything.
But even the social situations, like the amount of players we have in, and they're talking about managers, coaching staff, and how they like navigate the dressing room, and if they see a chink in the armour of a coach or a manager, and this isn't obviously a positive thing, they'll be all over it. Some players, won't they?
That is a thing with a footballer is if you give a footballer an inch, they will take more than a mile, won't they?
Absolutely. And I think that just is the nature of the game. It's just trying to see, because you're in such a macho environment, because it is literally survival of the fittest, when you see somebody who you think you've got an opportunity just to slightly bring down or put yourself up and put them in a position.
Thanks everybody for watching. We hope you enjoyed this clip of the Fozcast. If you would like to watch the full episode, it is now available exclusively on Spotify for free.